So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's information event on the Green Deal call. My name is Matthew Wellens. I'm the national contact point for NMBP, which stands for Industry and Space. And on behalf of my colleagues as well, my colleague NCPs, which will be presenting today, I welcome you to the event. We're very pleased to see such high participation. We are honestly also a little bit overwhelmed by the numbers, but that's good. And so let's proceed immediately. First of all, I'd like to introduce briefly the team behind today's event. We call ourselves the Green NCPs. NCPs stands for National Contact Point. And for those of you who don't know the definition, I provided it at the bottom of the slide. So NCPs provide professional national support for Horizon 2020 matters to foster participation and success. They are established and financed by governments of the member states and the states associated to the framework program. So essentially what we do, we are the Swiss national contact points, and we help researchers in Switzerland, both in academia or in the private sector, to participate and be successful in European framework programs. So as I said, we are all NCPs, we're all responsible for different thematic areas. There are also other NCPs which will not, let's say, speak today because they're not so involved with the Green Deal topic itself. Just a few words about our organization, where we belong. It's Euresearch. Euresearch is the official Swiss guide to European research and innovation. We are sponsored, or it is sponsored by the Swiss government, and as such, all our services are free of charge. Our services can be grouped in three different categories. Information, such as the event we are carrying out today. We advise, so we actually provide often bilateral advice to either companies or researchers on individual topics or cases. And we also connect, meaning that wherever there is need for a project team or for a consortium, we try and network, we provide some information on, let's say, opportunities in other countries. We as NCPs are seated in the head office in Bern, but we also have regional offices distributed around Switzerland. The regional offices are more in touch with the local research and innovation ecosystem. I have a problem with the slide. Okay. Excuse me, I have some issues with changing slides. Some general rules about the webinar today. You will see that you have a chat module. Please post your questions in that module. And we have dedicated Q&A sessions at the end of each main presentation session. However, due to the, as I said, the great interest and this big number of participants, we will only be able to answer a couple of questions. So it's very likely that your question will not be answered, in which case, please come back to us after the event at any of our email addresses, and we will happily reply. At any point in the event, it is possible to log in and log out. Just remember that when you log in again, you probably will see the chat module empty. And very important, we will send you up a follow-up email. So we will provide you with the slides presented today. We will give you the opportunity to give us feedback on the event, whether you liked it or not, and help us improve. And we also want to give a little help in terms of partnering. So we give you the opportunity with your consent to share the contact details, your contact details with the other participants today. So that will be the email address, but also maybe your specific interest in the Green Deal call. Of course, this is only with your consent. Okay, just a quick look at the agenda. You're probably already familiar with it as it was in the invitation. We will have two breaks, one in the morning, one at lunch. And for those of you who are already familiar with the Green Deal call, you know that there are different areas and different topics. So each area contains a number of topics. And for logistic reasons, of course, we've grouped those areas and topics in certain sessions, which are the sessions of the webinar today. So if you know already the area and topic that you're interested in, please, of course, take a note of which session you have to absolutely follow. For those of you who are quite new to the Green Deal call, there will be another slide later showing actually what each area and topic is, and then you will also be able to understand which part of the webinar you need to follow. Okay, so now I'll dive a little bit into the Green Deal area. So before going actually in the call, I want to explain something about the Green Deal itself, because sometimes there is confusion between the two concepts. The European Green Deal itself is one of the 6 key priorities of the new European Commission that installed itself in Brussels last year. When they did so, they came up with 6 high-level priorities for this commission. And actually, the first one, which was then embodied in a document already in December last year, is the European Green Deal. So it has definitely a place of very high importance in the agenda of the Commission. Everybody knows it by the subtitle, Striving to be the First Climate Neutral Continent. So Europe wants to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. But there is much more to the Green Deal than that, as you can see in the next slides. So these are 2 statements by respectively the President and the Vice President of the European Commission, where you can see that, of course, cutting emissions and green are the main issue of the Green Deal, or the main targets. But everything has to be done together with 2 other things, which is creating jobs and an inclusive economy. So it is true, the main target is to be green, but we have to be green with a thriving economy and an inclusive economy. And we will find these themes very widely in all the different topic texts of the Green Deal call. So if we look a little bit more into the details of the Green Deal priority, so we're still at the level of the Commission priority at the moment, we're not yet at the call. We see that there are 8 main work streams. So they're broken down, let's say, how can we achieve that priority, that vision concretely. There are 8 work streams, which are very important because correspond one-to-one to the thematic areas of the Green Deal call, which we'll see later. These are, starting from the top left, I'll just quickly go through them: climate, then energy, industry, buildings, and then from the top right, pollution, ecosystems and biodiversity, farm to fork or food, and mobility. Now let's go from the Green Deal priority to the actual call, which is the topic of today's webinar. The call is actually a way of the Commission to kickstart activities, research and innovation activities needed in order to implement this vision, this high-level vision of the Green Deal. And of course, research and innovation comes as a first element in any, let's say, futuristic enterprise. So it was a good thing to start this early. And it was started even under Horizon 2020 framework program. It's worth 1 billion, so 1,000 million euros. And it's actually part even of a much wider financial instrument called the European Green Deal Investment Plan, which plans to mobilize at least 1 trillion of public and private investments. As you will see later, it's a very cross-cutting call. And yeah, let's see now in detail how it is composed. This essentially is an overview of the call structure of the different areas. There are 8 thematic areas which correspond one-to-one to the 8 work streams of the Green Deal priority of the Commission. And then there are also 3 cross-cutting areas that you can see at the bottom. Each area has a number of topics which describe the projects that need to be proposed, let's say, for that particular problem. And overall, we have 20 topics across all the areas. So you can make a very easy calculation. If you wanted to know average per topic, how much money is being allocated, it's 1,000 million divided by 20. That's about 50 million per topic. Of course, then it's not exactly like that because the distribution is slightly different according to area and topic, but this gives you a rough idea of what kind of budgets we are looking at. What are the overall aims of the call? It's about demonstrating that research and innovation can provide solutions for the Green Deal priorities. It's very much impact focused and focusing on delivery of tangible results. So it's, of course, excellence, scientific excellence has a role, but it's really a lot about concrete results. Therefore, important aspects are, for example, pilot applications and demonstration projects. The Commission is also looking for innovation for better governance of the green and digital transition. What does this mean? They want to know how can society be steered in the best way across this transition to a green economy. Important is also to have a value chain innovation, meaning we shouldn't focus on only one element of the value chain, but the whole thing should be looked at holistically. And civil society and the citizens should be engaged and the citizens should be empowered. Again, this is a very recurrent role across all the different topic texts. Some general information on the call. It's part of Horizon 2020. So Switzerland can participate and is fully eligible for funding, as is also the United Kingdom, which is also a frequent question we get. So for the moment, let's say United Kingdom is fully eligible as well. There are the same rules for application and evaluation as Horizon 2020 and same funding rules for the different types of actions. So innovation actions, research and innovation actions, and coordination and support actions, same as Horizon 2020. One word of warning, everything we say today is based on draft preliminaries texts. The final official text will be published latest middle September, and they will be published on the funding and tenders portal of the European Commission. So everything can still change. I don't expect that there will be huge changes, but still, this is an important point to make. And also, as always with the texts, there is a certain amount of information we transmit is based on our expert interpretation of the topic text. Sometimes something is not clear. It's at the moment not possible to get clarifications from the Commission. So some of the content is based on our expertise. So what's going to happen now in the next phases? Publication, as I said, will happen latest by around the 20th of September, just before the Research and Innovation Days and the Green Deal brokerage event organized by the Commission on the 22nd to 24th of September. It's an event that generally takes place in Brussels. This year, because of coronavirus, will be online. Then the deadline for submitting proposals is end of January. At the moment, this is the date we have. Then there will be the evaluation of the proposals. As usual, account for about 5 months for that. And the latest possible date to submit a signed grant agreement is end of December 2021. However, the Commission has been very clear that they aim to start first projects as early as summer 2021. So, that is really, I think, a legally binding last possible date, but most projects will start earlier. And now, question we often get, which is one of the most complex questions: how do we get into a consortium? So the Green Deal call is a collaborative opportunity. So one needs to go with a project team. And how do you, let's say, get into a project team, or how do you form one? So the first thing we suggest is, of course, to use your network. That's always the best way to start. But also to look at what projects have been funded in that area, in that specific area of interest in the past. To this purpose, the Cordis database of the Commission is very useful. You can see what projects have been funded, what kind of organizations have been participating. Beyond that, there's also other opportunities such as brokerage events. Now, very often they are online, such as the one I mentioned, organized by the Commission as part of the R&I Days. There's partner search platforms, which are online platforms where people can post interest. There's, we, let's say, also do something like that with our partner search e-alerts. Enterprise Europe Network has something like that. The Commission will do that also on the funding and tender portal. Once the topics are open, but also the French NCP system have started something like that. So there's really quite a few opportunities. And on the bottom right, of course, there's the NCPs. That's us. You can contact us, let's say, for these kind of problems as well. And we come up with initiatives such as the one I mentioned earlier. We offer you now the chance to exchange your contact details with the rest of the participants. We will follow up in the email after. Okay, now very quickly again, the agenda. This one is with the details. This is also what you have in the invitation, where you see exactly the areas with a full description. So you can again refer to the invitation to find out which session you need to follow in order to find your topic of interest.